This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hi, sweetie. This is Isabel Melgarejo, and I am your host in A Time to Care the Caregivers podcast. Today, I am thrilled to talk about good news. Let's get started. I was reading in the Financial Times that there have been a 13% decline in dementia. This is great news. I will link the article in the show notes in case you want to go to the article and see more about it. And in case you don't want to do that, I want to talk about it in this podcast and just share my comments with you. They have found that they believe that these rates have fallen because of us taking care of the heart more often. I remember when I was a very, very little girl. Well, I don't remember, but I know this happened. My grandfather had several heart strokes. And after the third one, he was asked to resign from his job because he was in a lot of stress and he was in very high risk of getting another heart stroke. So they asked him to resign, and so he did. He resigned from his job, and then he was in a lot of hard conditions, like hard protocols to take care of his heart. And I think this was the story for a lot of men in the 70s and 80s when doctors and like the medical field thought that women were not in high risk of heart attacks just because we present symptoms of heart strokes in different way than men. So people didn't know that we were at risk. FYI, we are in also high risk of getting heart strokes. So just FYI. A lot of efforts during this time were made in terms of like keeping our hearts healthy. As a result, a lot of people, to avoid and prevent heart conditions, we were taking medications for high blood pressure and for cholesterol and whatnot. All of these medications are thing to be preventing dementia and Alzheimer's, which is good news. And I wanted to talk about this because, as you know, I was on my healing era for the last year. This year, one of my goals for 2024 is to take a really good care of my body and my health and my brain and my mental health and everything. I want to talk about this because in Mexico, when we are in high school, we are divided into subjects. There are 4 areas and you get to choose based on what you want to study in college. Because I was going into the chemical field, I was with the natural sciences, and I had a lot of natural sciences back then, a lot of classes. And I remember like all of these classes about the importance of taking care of our bodies. I remember this teacher, and she would always say that it was funny because to prevent any disease, to prevent anything, it was always the same things. Eat healthy, don't smoke, don't do drugs, exercise, and have enough water, and have good sleeping habits. For every single disease, it was the same. Eat healthy, do exercise, sleep well. No drugs, no alcohol, no smoking. Always, all the time. For absolutely. And if you go to the doctor for whatever reason, that's what they recommend. A healthy diet. If you, last year that they thought that I had an ulcer, I was in this very strict diet, removing all the unhealthy stuff. Obviously, I was not supposed to have alcohol or smoke or obviously doing drugs and that sort of things. When we go to the doctor, we get over and over and over the same recommendations. We are still not paying attention to what the doctors say. And today I wanted to talk about that because for years we've been listening to the same recommendations to have a healthy life, and we are still not doing anything about it. We are still drinking a lot, and we are still smoking, and we are still not eating healthy. And this year that I'm paying a lot of attention to my health, I want to enjoy life, and I want to enjoy the pleasures of life. And for me, one of those pleasures is eating, which means that I need to be very conscious about what I'm eating. I enjoy desserts way too much. I love them. You give me a dessert, I'm going to have it. That doesn't mean that I'm not taking care of my health. And that doesn't mean that I'm eating as much as I can. What are the things that we can do today to improve our health? First of all, we need to start drinking water. It is recommended that your weight in pounds, that you drink your weight in pounds, half of that. If you weigh 150 pounds, you need to drink 75 ounces of water every day. That is one thing that you might want to start doing, drinking a lot of water. You also need to start paying attention to your sleep. Are you sleeping enough? Are you sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day? If you're not, then what are the things that you can do to sleep that much? And what is the quality of that sleep? As you know, in my healing era, I also went to a nutritionist, and she asked me a bunch of questions about my sleep. It is important that we sleep nonstop. Then the sleep cycles get completed. If you're waking up at night, you might want to start paying attention on how you can reduce those awakenings. For example, if you wake up at night because you need to go to the bathroom, maybe you want to stop drinking water earlier in the day, so you go pee before you go to sleep, and then you don't need to go to the bathroom until you wake up. What are the things that are waking you up? Is there light? You need to make sure that it is dark when you're sleeping, and you also need to make sure that there's no noises and the temperature is correct. Go ahead and do that. Do those changes and get a good night's sleep every day. And I'm saying that after I had a terrible night of sleep, but I hope today will be different. Other things that we can do is eating healthy, eat enough protein. I am shocked, and I'm shocked at myself, including that we don't eat enough protein. That is crucial. If you eat enough protein, you won't be hungry throughout the day. You will have protein. It is very important that you eat enough protein. And if you don't know how much protein you should be eating, go to a nutritionist and ask about it. But yeah, we should be eating like a lot of it. Make sure that you're eating enough protein. And then there is like all the recommendations regarding food, no processed, no refined sugars, no refined flour, etc., etc. I think we should evaluate food on what brings us energy and what brings us joy. So I'm not saying not to eat what we love, but just to measure what we eat. Another thing that has been really important for me this year is not to eat absolutely everything. I would go to a restaurant and order a plate and then eat all of it. And I have discovered that sometimes I'm not that hungry, and sometimes I just need half of the plate. And that's good. I eat half of the plate and I can have leftovers for later. I'm good with that. I'm good at having leftovers and not having to eat a full plate of food that is just gonna make me feel bloated for the rest of the day. Start paying attention to your body. When you're full, stop eating. What other recommendations do I have for you today? No smoking. And this is also something that maybe brings you a lot of joy and whatnot. If it does, then maybe reduce the amount of cigarettes you have in a day. Same happens with alcohol. I think alcohol can bring us joy and can bring us pleasure. We just need to make conscious choices about when we have it and how much of it we have. So just have one drink and then enjoy it. Because if you're drinking for pleasure, then you should actually enjoy the drink and get the best bottle of wine and enjoy it. That's what it is for. Listen, I'm not a doctor, and these are just recommendations that I have read. Some of them I've read from books or I've heard from doctor friends or whatnot, but these are just recommendations, and you should actually go to your doctor and talk about it. And talk about how you can create a balanced life in which you enjoy the quote-unquote guilty pleasures and have a healthy life. That's what I'm saying. So you can prevent these diseases. And if your loved one already has Alzheimer's or dementia, then maybe you can start creating a healthy lifestyle for him or her in which you help progress the disease as fast as it could go. And if this is for you or for your loved one who's not sick, then I think it is a good time to start creating good habits. I think the beginning of a year, it's a great time to create new habits and to create new goals. And right now that we're closing January, I think it is a good reminder of the good habits that we should have. Just to go through it, I'm excited to see that 13% of dementia cases have dropped down. That's a great news. I believe, and doctors believe, that's related to a good heart. And a good heart is related to good healthy habits. Go ahead, talk with your professionals, with your doctors, with your nutritionist, and talk about which healthy habits you can start including now that after a month, you might be getting a little bit demotivated. But hey, it's going to be February in a few days. And go ahead and try to regain those goals that you thought at the beginning. This is all for now. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and see you soon.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.